Target, Bud Light, North Face, Jack Daniels, and others who have bent the knee, grabbed both ankles.
It's true.
And now going broke because of it.
You are correct, sir. Yes!
But you know who was Bud Light before Bud Light?
What?
The NBA.
He ain't lying.
I'm Jasper Gonzo, and this is what's next. Happy Friday, guys. Jasper Gonzo, what's next? Your daily dose of common sense, facts, and salt. Hope you guys are doing good today. Well, it's been a while since we've talked about some sports, and only because with the stupidity of May and June, of course, the bastardization of the rainbow and the, just stupidity of the whole damn situation. But of course, as I spoke about in my video from yesterday, just because grooming month are over doesn't mean the grooming stops. Speaking of, I've talked about in the past regarding sports and how they've gone woke, from the NBA to the NFL to the Major League Baseball to even the NHL, who finally started to get it right at the tail end of June. But before Bud Light, before Target, before all these other stores, bent over, grabbed both ankles without KY and said, give it to me and give it to me hard, there was the NBA. The NBA was doing stupidity and nonsense and ignorance before these companies currently got on board. Let's take a look. This comes out of Outkick. NBA is the original Bud Light, and no one in mainstream sports media will tell you that. By one Clay Travis. Bud Light's business has collapsed since April 1. Pretty much since April. Plummeting 30% in consumption. The result of the company putting a trans influencer on the can, the dude with mental illness, to celebrate the NCAA's March Madness basketball tournament. The result, social media brouhaha, combined with the head of marketing deriding the brand's out-of-touch humor and frat connotations, has led the most crushing boycott of a large consumer product brand in modern history. $30 billion cap loss since one Dylan Mulvaney. Bud Light legitimately might be finished as a popular beer. Ask, what's his name? Some country singer who opened a bar and... Anyway, as I demonstrated in May, with an experiment that went viral, many beer drinkers simply refused to be seen with Bud Light. And of course, that was his weekend experiment with Bud Light. No one touched a can. The Bud Light backlash will be studied in marketing courses for the next 40 or 50 years as a perfect example of what happens when a brand alienates its core audience by embracing values antithetical to its core consumer. Yes, when you alienate 80% of your fan base, which happens to be men, you've got a problem. But many in the media are already proclaiming Bud Light as a unicorn. The first of its conservative boycott has obliterated decades of goodwill for a company. But this isn't true. Conservative boycotts do work when done properly. The most consequential consumer boycott of the 21st century didn't come from a drinker's rejection of a beer, it came from sports, in particular the NBA, which has destroyed its brand with a large percentage of the American sporting public by embracing woke, political, far left-wing messaging in its games. So why haven't you heard about this despite the overwhelming data I'm about to lay out for you? Simple. The American sports media is so far left-wing, they refuse to share the data right in front of their eyes. Yes, if the sky is blue, they'll tell you it's green. The American sports media overwhelmingly supports far left-wing political messaging. Fact. They love it because it reflects their own ideals. Fact. The vast majority of sports media wants sports to be filled with left-wing politics. Fact. They see it as an affirmation of their own personal beliefs and applaud it. Again, fact. But this same media won't write or report the truth about the NBA's viewership declines because it would do so as a repudiation of their own worldview. So they pretend everything I'm about to share with you hasn't happened. I first became aware of the NBA backlash in 2017. So we have to go back, 6 years? 7 years? When the league pulled its All-Star game out of Charlotte. At the time, I was hosting a morning sports talk show. Our lines were overflowed with sports fans. People who love basketball saying they were going to stop watching NBA over a political decision. We talked about it on the show, and I wrote about how Outkick, the larger American sports media, pretended I was crazy and discussed the backlash. Excuse me. Now, for those who don't know, the situation in Charlotte in 2017 was the banning of tranny bathrooms. Yes, there's men, there's women. They wanted a third bathroom, or they wanted trans to use the bathrooms of their, quote, identity. North Carolina was about to slap that down. Like I said, was. The woke sports media just isn't willing to admit that sports fans might be changing their mind behavior over sports leagues embracing politics. Even as the data shows listeners weren't lying, many were in fact turning off sports. The NBA fan boycott was Bud Light before Bud Light was. So why is the Bud Light boycott everywhere? And this might be the first thing you've ever heard about the NBA boycott. Even now, just a mere suggestion of NBA's collapsing viewership will send your usual left-wing sports media subject into a fit of rage. Don't believe me? Search mentions of my name and NBA on social media once the story goes viral. The vociferous and the response to the fact data, the willing blindfoldness and fits of rage this story will entail provide all the evidence of media bias we need. The left-wing sports media simply can't handle the idea Michael Jordan was right when he said the reason he didn't get involved in politics was because Republicans buy sneakers too. Remember that, all you old heads? NBA alienating fan base by going woke. It turns out that Republicans don't just buy sneakers. They really like the NBA, or they used to. Let's take a quick trip into the NBA history, into the Wayback Machine, to show you where the NBA used to be and where it is today. Let's start exactly 25 years ago, when Michael Jordan stepped back for a jumper, subtly pushing off Utah Jazz's Byron Russell in the process, and drained a jumper to win Game 6 of the '98 NBA Finals. That was basketball almost at its apex. As I watched the game on television with friends in Nashville, he was 19, of course, just having finished his freshman year, chances were you were a sports fan in '98, you were watching that game too. In fact, the 1998 game is the single most watched basketball game in the history of America. In fact, 36 million people watched that game. Never before and never since has more people watched a basketball game in American history. That game represented the absolute apex of the NBA's influence in American sporting life. But it wasn't just that game alone. That 6-game Jazz Bulls series averaged 29.4 million viewers, an all-time high for NBA Finals, and may never be repeated again. Michael Jordan and, of course, Karl Malone. 25 years later, the past season's 5-game NBA Finals averaged just an average of 11.6 million viewers, one of the lowest audiences on record and a continuation of the NBA's collapsing ratings. Indeed, 4 of the 5 lowest rated NBA Finals in the past 30 years have occurred in the past 4. 12.4 in 22, 9.9 in 21, and a disgusting 7.45 million in 2020. Remember in 2020, that pandemic and you were just told to, Netflix and chill? Remember that? How did it happen? How in the space of a generation did NBA, which created tens of millions of monster fans in the Jordan era, lose so many viewers? And why has this story never been told before? Why have so many of you have no idea that this ever happened? LeBron James, Adam Silver. Do I need to go any further? The story goes on a little bit longer. Clay pretty much breaks it down in regards to college and, of course, the current stat of the NBA. But those two names alone, LeBron James and Adam Silver, pretty much say it all. You got the NBA, who is in bed with China because, their human rights atrocities. The NBA is like, hey, as long as you sign those checks, whatever you do to your own people, hang them, beat them, set them on fire, who cares? Especially if they're Christian, we don't care. When you have LeBron James, who chastises people because he reads so many books, actually, every time he starts to read a book, he never gets past page 1. So this is where we are when it comes to sports in general. The fact of the matter is that the only fan base who has come back almost, and I say almost back, is the NFL, because they stopped a lot of the woke shit. Black Lives Matter sprayed all over the field. Still, you still have fans. at least a quarter of the fan base in the NFL has stayed away permanently because of one Colin Kaepernick. And of course, the nonsense afterwards, especially after the lovely summer of 2020. But regarding the NBA, I was one of those fans. Grew up near North Philadelphia. Watched all four major sports. Cheered when my Philadelphia Eagles won the Super Bowl in 2017, and almost cheered again last year against Kansas City. But still, the NBA was something that I watched almost religiously as a child and in my 20s and my 30s. But then when I moved away out of PA, I started getting involved with other things. But at the end, I would always try to come back to the NBA to watch as many games as I could. And sadly, Clay Travis is right. From 2017 on, we have seen a degradation. We have seen a decline. We have seen a de-evolution of what the NBA used to be. The NBA used to be fun, entertaining. You had great players. You had great coaches. You had great rivalries. Now you got absolute woke trash. When you have a great feel-good story, as the Denver Nuggets, and I'm probably going to butcher his name in Jokic, win the MVP, you had people complaining that because he was white, he won the MVP and not because of its talent. Shall I say any more? With that being said, I'm Jasper Gonzo. This is What's Next. Want to see more like this? Please leave a comment below. Like it, share it, subscribe to it, hit that notification bell so you guys never miss a thing. And we'll see you next time. Peace.